This is a special presentation of KCCI's Storm Team 8, Weathering the Storm.
Weather impacts Iowans every day. Mother Nature has hit us hard over the past year with severe storms, flooding, and snow. Our long winter finally wrapped up. January and February brought us bitterly cold temperatures and large amounts of snow. As it melted, rivers rose, closing roads and threatening homes across central Iowa. And as spring arrives, we have to prepare for severe weather season. Our goal here at KCCI is to keep you informed on changing weather conditions. Tonight we'll showcase the tools and techniques used by our Storm Team 8 meteorologists to keep you safe. We'll also show you the best place to be during a storm. Plus hear about the protocol Principal Park has in place when storms threaten an iCubs game. Let's begin with the tornadoes that struck July of 2018 and the destruction they left behind.
Honey, get inside. They just went a house.
A tornado outbreak happened on the afternoon and early evening of July 19th. That day, there were 19 tornadoes in central Iowa. Most of the damage happened in Pella, Bondurant, and Marshalltown. The EF3 tornado that hit Marshalltown had peak winds at 144 miles per hour. As KCCI's Laura Terrell shows us, people there are still cleaning up and rebuilding after the storm.
This is Bromley Street, one of the hardest hit areas in Marshalltown. You can still see the devastation is everywhere, and nearly 9 months later, families are still trying to recover.
This slab of concrete is was our driveway.
Standing on an empty lot, Lacey Smith describes where her house used to be.
The girls' room and the kitchen, it was an open, beautiful wooden pillars. It was an old home.
Smith, her husband, and their 6 children lost everything after a tornado roared through Marshalltown on July 19th.
It's the day that changed our life.
Their home reduced to rubble, a scene Smith's 5-year-old son could hardly comprehend.
Working so hard for so many years, making a good life for your kids, and then having it taken away in a matter of minutes. That was hard.
3 minutes is all it took for the tornado to destroy everything in its path. Smith and 2 of her children were driving home at the time it hit.
We went down an alleyway. As we're going down, tree landed right in front of us, and I had to slam on the brakes, reverse, turn down, and at that moment I realized we have nowhere to go.
Massive trees uprooted and roofs ripped off homes. Smith and her children were forced to break into a nearby house to take cover.
I'm literally freaking out because everywhere I see is just devastation.
All it takes is one look at the devastation to realize what a miracle it is that everyone in Marshalltown survived. But with that survival comes scars, trauma, and anxiety.
I have nightmares quite frequently. It's something that I've actually reached out to to get therapy for.
9 months later, the pain is still very much a part of this town. Debris is everywhere. Clothes and shoes are scattered about. Tarps over homes, and many are still without siding.
We're still trying to recover.
But in the recovery process are glimmers of hope, like complete strangers showing up to help.
Everybody just cleaned up, not only for us, but for their neighbors too. Everybody just started pitching in.
And during the cleanup, special keepsakes started surfacing, like Smith's oldest son's favorite 49ers helmet, and even better, his baby book.
I mean, I teared up because this is something you can't get back.
Found more than a mile away, it's tattered and torn now, but it's a sign of all this family has been through.
Maybe also like it's a sign that things will get better.
While the rebuilding process has not been easy, the Smith family does have hope. Unable to get a loan at the moment, they're forced to stay at a friend's house, but the plan is to come back here.
All we want to do is rebuild.
Before hitting Marshalltown, the storm formed tornadoes that struck Bondurant. An EF2 tornado went through the city, ripping roofs off of several homes there. KCCI's Chris Gothner shares what the city learned.
You might remember the path of destruction that this twister carved out. Remember that house over there? Well, that had its entire second floor blown off. This house over here was completely destroyed. It has since been rebuilt. You know, the physical signs of the destruction may have faded away, but the memories from this past summer still remain.
There is a tornado going into Bondurant as we speak.
And when you see all those sparks, that's when it went over my house.
Gail Beatty considers herself lucky. Not only did she survive the July 19th EF2 tornado, so did her house. That's in spite of the storm going directly overhead.
The tornado touchdown looks like north of Bondurant.
And as I looked out my back window, there's the tornado coming over the fence into my backyard. And it's just a swirling, and I can see the dirt, and it's just like what you see on TV. It's heart-stopping. You think you're going to die right this minute when you see it coming across the road, coming across your yard, and it's in your backyard, and it's hitting your windows.
On an otherwise sunny afternoon, the west side of Bondurant resembled a war zone. Photojournalist John Houghton and I were there minutes after the storm struck. You can see this house over here on Mallard Point Drive. Roof has been just completely lifted off of this.
You always hear it happens fast. I can attest to that. It happens fast.
First responders had to quickly spring into action.
We were actually out before we had a 911 call.
Not only did rescuers have to check for any injured, but they had to deal with a potentially dangerous gas leak. There is an active gas leak right now, so they're having us move back. After making sure everyone was safe and sound, the city's response turned into recovery mode.
It was definitely a life-changing experience, I know, for everybody here. It opened our eyes to a lot of things that we kind of knew we had that we needed to work on.
We spoke to Bondurant's fire chief, city administrator, and public works director.
Our checklists of review for the safety of the houses, we sort of made those up on the fly. I was here pulling examples from other communities.
The three say experiences like that made them realize they needed to fine-tune their disaster response plans. They're grateful for help from neighboring cities in Polk County, but they say staff are working to scale back the city's all-hazards plan to focus on steps in the first hours of a disaster, especially if other cities can't help out.
From July 19th forward, I can tell you with great certainty that we work closer together as a group with the departments than we ever have in the past.
We're hoping for a better summer this year, but we're prepared if it's not.
And Gail Beatty says next time she's not going to watch the storm blow over her house.
Yes, and Gail did not pay attention. She's going to be paying a lot better attention this spring. And whenever she hears the sirens go off, it's going to be like, whoa, basement time.
Advice she says all Central Iowans should follow. In Bondurant, Chris Gothner, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
As we know, Iowa weather can change drastically. Storm chasing plays a key role in getting critical and accurate information to the public. Zach Sharp is the president and forecaster for the Iowa Storm Chasing Network. He's worked with KCCI since 2015. KCCI meteorologist Riley O'Connor sat down with him.
Zach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Tell us more about the Storm Chasing Network. If somebody's not familiar with it, what exactly you do, how it started.
The Iowa Storm Chasing Network started in 2013 as just a way to get weather information out there. That's on the cups of the social media revolution as we know it. It was a way to get information out there very quickly in a timely manner, because before that you would have to wait till the 5, 6, 9, 10 o'clock news in the evening to get your weather information. So starting this social media network of basically weather lovers that could get their weather information whenever they wanted it was a very crucial thing.
With it, you do live stream, right? So somebody can log on and watch it in that time, correct?
Yes, yep. So we stream all our chases live on the web, and we pipe those back into the TV networks like KCCI, which we've partnered since 2015. Part of that is it plays a crucial role. If we can actually physically show you what's going on the ground level, that way you are more likely to take that storm more seriously. Before, you would only have the Doppler radar, but now actually being able to show you what's going on at ground level, if there's a funnel cloud, if there's a wall cloud, if there's a tornado, that helps in the warning process.
So you mentioned, talking about the radar and the key components. And so how does that how does that go back to KCCI and your relationship with KCCI? You have the information when you're out in the field, giving it back to us, the meteorologists. Tell us more about that relationship, what you have with KCCI.
It's very important that we have that relationship. It brings one extra dynamic and element that most stations don't have. And having that relationship plays that role in allowing people to see what's going on. We were there during the Marshalltown tornado, and we were literally streaming that tornado live as it was happening. As we were able to slowly make our way around town, we found ourselves in the heart of where the tornado hit and did the most damage over by the Lennox plant. And that's when all of a sudden we were first on scene. No one was outside yet, and literally minutes after that, that's when everyone in the town began to emerge from their basements and looked at the scope of the damage that this tornado literally just did minutes before.
Storm chasing is becoming very popular. It has in the recent years. You know, people who are not experienced want to go out and chase a storm. Can you give people advice on if they want to do this? What do you do to keep safe when you're in a storm and you come up on a tornado? How do you know how to be safe and take safety versus people who have never had this experience before?
Yeah, the movie Twister, and then especially the movie Into the Storm, really played a big effect on what happened with the tornado chasing community.
Right.
Everyone loves storms, and especially watching Twister, and they want to go out and see the power of Mother Nature. But safety is key, because if not, then you're going to get hurt, you're going to hurt someone else. We've seen multiple accidents already, people actually losing their lives because of tornadoes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Zach, for joining us today. You can follow Zach on Twitter and on Facebook and on iowachase.com. I'm KCCI meteorologist Riley O'Connor.
You may notice these new icons. They help us highlight days when the weather could impact your plans. These yellow icons mean it's a weather-aware day. They indicate that the weather will likely disrupt your normal daily routine. That includes light precipitation, wind, or fog. The red weather alert icon means there is a threat of severe and potentially life-threatening weather. This includes tornadoes, flash flooding, and extreme heat. We can better forecast those weather alert days with a tool we have here just north of Ankeny. Perched more than 100 feet in the air, Super Doppler 8 brings you a live look at weather conditions across the entire state. Inside the dome is a powerful dual polarized antenna. That means we can better detect storms with vertical and horizontal radar beams. When raindrops fall, they don't look like a typical teardrop shape you might think of. Instead, they flatten, looking more like a hamburger patty. So a horizontally polarized radar beam does a better job at detecting rain. As snowflakes fall, they do so more vertically. So a vertically polarized radar beam is superior for detecting snow. Vertical and horizontal beams working together can better detect objects that are round, like hail. That information is then sent directly to our studios in downtown Des Moines. That's where our team of meteorologists are able to track storms when the seconds count. The rotation is headed dead straight towards Colfax. It's probably 1 mile west of Colfax right now, what I'm seeing on radars. You can see the latest from Live Super Doppler anytime. Just visit kcci.com/weather or check out the KCCI mobile app. When a fun day at the ballpark turns dangerous.
Weather is a big part of our business.
How the iCubs predict severe weather and keep fans safe when it happens. Police radios still running in a time of crisis. How the Raycom building kept dispatch going even after taking a direct hit from the tornado. Will Iowa get more flooding this year? 3 things experts look at to predict how bad it will be. But first, true or false, opening windows can minimize damage from a tornado. The answer is just 2 minutes away. Welcome back. True or false? Opening windows can minimize damage from a tornado? It's false. Most damage comes from currents of wind, not differences in air pressure. Snow, ice, and flooding. When winter decided to hit this year, it hit hard. There was extreme cold and over 2 feet of snow in February alone, but it warmed up quickly, causing a quick melt. Ice jams formed along many rivers, causing tremendous flooding. Some towns in the southwest part of the state along the Missouri River were hit especially hard. March flooding in Iowa caused an estimated $1.6 billion in damage. KCCI meteorologist Jason Sadeko spoke with hydrologist Jeff Zog from the National Weather Service about what else we can expect.
Over the past year, Iowa has seen more than its fair share of flooding. From the flash flooding of June 30th to the flooding we've experienced across much of Iowa already this year. It begs the question, what are we in store for moving forward? To find out, I went and talked to an expert, Jeff Zog.
I'm a hydrologist with the National Weather Service.
Jeff uses computer programs to help him see what's currently going on and the type of flooding that could happen.
This right here is called HydroView, and it allows us to look at the stages of the rivers as they're occurring right now.
He looks at a lot of variables, like how deep the frost is early in the year.
Of course, if you have a lot of frost depth, then the water really can't soak in regardless of the soil moisture.
And as the temperatures warm up, he looks at how wet the ground is.
If the soil moisture is running high, then of course the rain's going to tend to run off into the streams and not get soaked into the ground.
The time of year can play a crucial role in the type of flooding we experience.
Earlier in the spring, it's the runoff from the snowmelt, that sort of thing. But now it depends a lot on the rainfall, heavy rainfall potential, where it occurs, that sort of thing.
Snowmelt has already caused a lot of the major flooding across the state, but now our sights turn to rainfall.
Thunderstorms with heavy rainfall, that sort of thing. That's what's going to drive it.
And there are signs there's even more rain to come.
There is a potential for wetter than normal conditions.
The Climate Prediction Center puts out a 3-month precipitation forecast. It shows a 33% chance of wetter than normal conditions. And an analysis of similar El Nino years draws some similarities to 1953, a year of large flooding in northwest Iowa. With our current situation, heavy rain right now wouldn't be good.
If we get the heavy rainfall now, of course, there's not as much storage in the rivers and it's more likely to flood.
Long-range forecasts like this, though, can be fickle.
Of course, there's a lot of uncertainty in those outlooks, so we'll just have to keep an eye on what happens.
As we prepare for severe weather season, it's a good time to review the difference between a watch and a warning. Both words may sound similar, but they each have different meanings. First, a watch means that conditions are right for severe weather development. They can be issued 6 to 12 hours in advance of severe weather, and they usually cover a large area. While a watch does not mean that severe weather is happening now, it does mean that you should prepare for potentially life-threatening conditions. A warning means that severe weather is occurring right now or is imminent. That means that when a warning is issued, you should take action immediately. Warning areas are much smaller than watches and usually last 30 to 60 minutes when referring to a tornado or severe thunderstorm warning. Storms can strike when we don't want them to. Last fall, severe weather forced about 60,000 fans to flee their seats during Iowa State's first football game of the year. KCCI meteorologist Matinka Slater went to Principal Park to find out how the I-Cubs figure out when storms are coming and when to cancel games.
Weather is a big part of our business. Unfortunately, we're really dependent on Mother Nature and what she decides to do day in and day out.
We all love sunshine and 70 degrees at the I-Cubs, but sometimes the weather turns stormy, and they've got a plan in place to keep you safe.
We use a pretty advanced radar system in-house that we look at and can tell when storms are coming and when to look out for. And so that's something when there's weather on the forecast we're watching. There's a lot of people involved in that process. Not only our GM looks at that weather, our grounds crew's involved.
Last season, fans had to endure a lot of weather extremes. If it wasn't too cold or way too hot, it was way too stormy, leading to a home record 7 postponed and 2 canceled games, including June 30th against Memphis.
That's probably, outside of the floods I think 2008 floods, that's at least the worst that I've seen and some of the worst weather we have gotten. We canceled the game pretty early that night.
When lightning approaches the stadium, crews quickly move players and fans to safe areas and postpone the game. If the severe weather doesn't let up, ballpark officials will cancel it.
There's a lot of factors that go into that, and first and foremost, it's player safety on the field. We want the fans to have a good time, but we want everyone to be safe while they're here at the ballpark, both on the field and off the field.
When the weather does turn stormy, ballpark officials tell us this is the best place to stay safe, down here on the concourse.
Out of the elements and covered in concrete, fans can safely wait out the bad weather, keeping everyone's goal in mind.
The main goal is always to play ball.
Severe weather in 2011 caused a stage collapse at the Indiana State Fair, killing 9 people. A wind gust from an approaching severe thunderstorm caused the stage to collapse. Country music band Sugarland was performing that night. They were set to perform the next day at the Iowa State Fair, but canceled their tour after the tragedy. While they never had to use it, Iowa State Fair officials say they have a very thorough evacuation process. Every year, fair officials meet with local police agencies and emergency management to review their plan and draft updates. Last year, storms delayed the Earth, Wind, and Fire concert at the Iowa State Fair. Concert goers were told to take cover. After the storms passed through, the concert was able to get back underway. So when you head out this summer, be prepared to evacuate. Have a plan for your friends or family, and make sure to download the KCCI mobile app. Struck but still standing, we go inside the Vermeer building in Pella to find out what kept employees safe during the tornado. It can take a hit from an EF5 tornado and keep standing. The room you can add to your home for extra protection against storms. But first, true or false, the southwest corner of a basement provides the best protection from a tornado? The answer after the break. Welcome back. True or false, the southwest corner of the basement is the best place to seek shelter from a tornado? False. You're safest under stairs or a heavy bench in the center of your basement. Basements can keep you safe during a tornado, but there's a space that's even safer. KCCI's meteorologist Matinka Slater shows us a different way to protect yourself during a severe storm.
When thunder roars, go indoors. Then what? The safest room for you to wait out severe weather has always been the lowest and most interior room in your home. But what if there was somewhere even safer?
Basements aren't 100% protection anymore. We'll open it up here and you'll see the inside. We're not looking necessarily for comfort at this point. We're looking for protection. This is a 1/4 inch plate steel. The door itself weighs 450 pounds. There'll be 12 of these bolts in this unit that will go into the cement. Those 12 bolts will withstand 22.5 tons of force.
This shelter has been tested at Texas Tech University to withstand the forces of an EF5 tornado. They fired a 2x4 at the door at 280 miles per hour to simulate flying debris.
This storm shelter is rated to hold 5 or 6 people, but in a pinch, you could get probably twice as many.
Shirley Roach is thankful she had one to protect herself and her dogs last summer as severe winds approached her home in Albia.
It was kind of scary. I didn't think much about it while I was in there. I knew it was making a lot of noise. When they say it sounds like a freight train, it really does. I mean, it was a lot of noise, and you hear twigs hitting the house, and the rain and wind, and until it was over. And then the renter came over and said that the garage was gone, and then I got, oh my.
This storm shelter isn't just for home use. It can be installed anywhere, like a school, mobile home park, or a business. Builders right here in central Iowa are installing these in new townhomes that don't include basements.
The tornado came through, but emergency dispatch kept going.
Our building was dead in the center of the tornado when it hit.
How the Raycom building in Marshalltown managed to stay up and running. Stronger after the storm. How Pella manufacturer Vermeer is growing after sustaining major tornado damage. Enduring the elements, we'll walk you through how the KCCI Storm Chaser works. But first, true or false? Thunderstorms and tornadoes always move from west to east. Find out when we return. Welcome back. True or false? Thunderstorms and tornadoes always move from west to east. False. Emergency communication was vital during and after the July tornadoes. But the Raycom building that houses the police dispatch equipment in Marshalltown took a direct hit. KCCI's Laura Terrell shows us the damage.
Nearly 9 months later, construction crews are still hard at work all over Marshalltown, especially here at the Raycom building that took a direct hit from the tornado.
If you look really closely, you can actually see the spin of the tornado off on the left-hand side of the video. It goes from sort of peaceful to sort of total chaos just in that few minutes of time.
This security camera captured the tornado as it roared into Marshalltown. As the sky darkens, winds reaching 140 miles an hour send debris flying through the air.
Our building was dead in the center of the tornado when it hit.
Mike Miller is the president and CEO of Raycom. The company supplies radio communications for 300 public safety agencies in Iowa.
Some of the tree damage, it goes 100 or 200 yards north of here.
Standing on the roof of the Raycom building, Miller shows us the widespread damage still visible 9 months after the storm.
You can still see contractors working today at people's homes. And so a lot of people were walking around they didn't know what to do.
Just like stunned.
Yeah.
No one was more stunned on July 19th than Miller himself after Raycom took a direct hit from the tornado. This cell phone video taken shortly after shows walls blown out of the 5-story building.
I got out and looked up and the whole building was torn apart, and I thought somebody had to die and our business is going to be over.
Fortunately, neither one of those would come true. 12 employees inside survived the storm, and so did the most important equipment.
When I walked up, it was just insulation everywhere, no ceiling anymore. Things were tipped over, but the key, most important servers, like those over there in that corner, stood just exactly like that.
Miller calls it a miracle. With the server still standing, police and dispatchers still had their lifeline of communication.
Every Marshalltown police officer, Marshall County Sheriff's deputy, every time they hit push to talk on the radio, it's controlled from this building and specifically from those racks of servers right there.
Not only did Raycom keep the servers up and running, but it set up this temporary dispatch center in its building.
Marshall County 911.
Never heard before audio recordings give a glimpse of the chaos that day as terrified Marshalltown residents called 911.
Reporting a tornado touching down on top of the veterans home.
Yes, we're aware. Get into the basement.
Thank you.
Marshall County 911.
My mom is driving, she was driving home. I think she's on Summit Street and a tree fell on her car and I don't know if she's okay.
This is dash cam video of Marshalltown police responding to call after call. Without radio communication, their search and rescue would have been extremely difficult.
There's no doubt in my mind that lives were saved that day because our public safety radios stayed up and active the whole time.
I'm as proud as I could be that we were able to pass that test.
Nearly 9 months later, Raycom still shows all the signs of that terrifying day. Broken glass and ripped off siding, $7 million in damage that could take 9 more months to fix.
We've decided that we're going to rebuild it nicer, more modern, even stronger.
One lasting sign of the storm's strength is this bent metal flagpole in the front of the building. Miller is considering leaving it that way as a reminder.
It did bend Marshalltown. It did hurt us a lot, you know. We have years of recovery ahead of us, but it didn't break us.
In Marshalltown, Laura Terrell, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
That tornado also hit major central Iowa manufacturer Vermeer in Pella. The industrial and agricultural equipment maker has a large campus, and the storm caused significant damage. KCCI's Todd Magel is there with a look at how it's doing today.
9 months after the tornado struck here in Pella, it's hard to find any signs of damage. In fact, Vermeer is almost back to normal.
Oh my gosh, are you videoing this? Yes, this is all on video.
July 19th, 2018. This is the tornado as it tears through the Vermeer Corporation in Pella. In just a few minutes, it sawed through several buildings along what's called Vermeer Mile. From the air and on the ground, the damage is overwhelming. Roofs torn off, walls collapsed, and cars piled up like toys.
It was shocking to me to see the damage.
Jason Andringa is Vermeer's CEO.
When I came out of the shelter in Plant 1 and drove along the back of the mile, I will never forget what I saw.
Then it really got emotional because you saw that the place that you loved to come to work was practically destroyed.
Joel Neef has been a Vermeer machining specialist for 17 years. He helps build some of the giant farm and industrial equipment here. He and his co-workers rushed into the reinforced concrete tornado shelters in Plant 7 that afternoon. This one is normally a lunchroom, but the doors have 3 deadbolts and it's built to withstand an EF5 tornado.
You start thinking about family, friends. Are you going to make it out of here?
Neef and hundreds of other workers did make it out. 7 were injured, no one was killed. That night, an emotional Andringa promised to rebuild his 71-year-old family company.
So yeah, we certainly are going to rebuild, and we're going to come back stronger than ever.
Vermeer is back building machines like this horizontal driller.
What's going on in the buildings right now is amazing. We're doing with 5 plants what we used to do with 7, and we're getting it done.
The progress we have made is mind-blowing.
Here's another look at the damage last summer from the air, and here's what it looks like now. The remaining factory buildings are working at full capacity. Vermeer is beginning construction to replace the 2 destroyed plants by next year. Each one will have even stronger storm shelters.
The whole mental image of it is seared in my brain forever, and I'll probably never get over the shock of it, and then also never get over the pride of how we rallied as a team and came back like we did.
The anniversary of the tornado is still about 3 months away, and Vermeer is planning on celebrating its survival in July. In Pella, Todd Magel, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
There's nothing we can do to stop dangerous weather here in Iowa, but there are actions we can take now to stay safe. Tornado drills are part of the plan. Officials held a statewide drill on March 27th as part of Severe Weather Awareness Week. The National Weather Service says it's a good reminder for people to have an emergency plan in place as tornado season starts. KCCI meteorologist Matinka Slater spoke with Keith Cooperman of the American Red Cross on what you should get together to be ready.
You want to make sure that you have all of the items that you need. So if you have your important documents, you always want to make sure you have them in a secure safe or something that you can bring with you if you are going to have to go to a shelter. So make sure that you have like your marriage certificates, if you were in the military, any of your military paperwork or anything important for you to make sure that you can replace it as easy as possible.
And how about food and water? Should we plan ahead for that too?
Sure, yeah. Food and water is good if you're going to be able to stay at your place, so it's always good to have a stockpile of items that will not, like people, in the military, we use the MREs, things like that, but you want to make sure that you do have a good amount of supply of, food in your house. But if you are going to be going over to a sheltering situation because your house has water coming into it, the sheltering facilities most likely will have food for you there.
Just take your medications, take your insurance cards, and take your little lovey bag there.
One of the tools we use to keep you safe is the KCCI Storm Chaser. KCCI meteorologist Riley O'Connor explains how it works.
Severe weather season is here, and our Storm Chaser from Carl Chevrolet is a unique tool that we use here in Central Iowa. The Chevy Tahoe is custom equipped with the latest technology, including a 360-degree panning camera, along with weather tools like live radar reception and the ability to broadcast instant live video from the vehicle. That allows us to show the road conditions in your neighborhood and track the latest development of storms. The power of the Chevy Tahoe lets us hit the road in some of the nastiest of Iowa weather. It not only helps us bring you live coverage from across Central Iowa, we also have the ability to do live weather on the road.
Spotting the Storm, the class that teaches you how to understand the sky and how that knowledge can keep everyone safe. Flash flooding lessons, the city of Des Moines takeaways after last summer's downpour. But first, true or false, a tornado is credited with saving Washington, D.C. from British invaders. Find out when Weathering the Storm returns. Welcome back. True or false? A tornado is credited with saving Washington, D.C. from British invaders? True. On August 25th, 1814, a day after British invaders burned down the White House, a rare tornado struck Washington, D.C. It drove the British out of the city, preventing them from carrying out further destruction. Although it's rare, getting struck by lightning is a real threat. Typically, at least 1 or 2 people get hit by lightning in our state per year. In 2018, 2 men were struck in a golf course parking lot in Colo. They said the lightning strike happened after the rain had moved through the area. Lightning can strike before, during, or even after a storm. If you hear thunder, you are likely within striking distance of the storm.
Anytime you hear thunder, try to get inside to a shelter. If that's not an option, if there's a vehicle, try to get into a vehicle.
It's always important to pay attention to your surroundings and watch the weather. The National Weather Service teaches Iowans to spot storms. KCCI meteorologist Jason Sadeko checked out a class.
Do you get excited for thunderstorms?
Unbelievable.
Have you ever wanted to know how they form and why?
You got your shot, I gotta get closer, Brian.
Then the National Weather Service may just have the thing for you.
Here for the storm spotter training.
I am here to learn about severe weather.
We're going to do spotter training for all the folks in Polk County.
Welcome. Every spring, the National Weather Service puts on storm spotter training classes across Iowa.
We go all across our 51 county warning area at least once every other year and train all the folks.
National Weather Service meteorologist Brad Small has trained many spotters in his over 20-year career.
We train hundreds a year, and we have over 7,000 in our database.
A lot of people come because storms are a passion.
I have always loved lightning and thunder and storms. I always go out and stand in the driveway and watch them come in while everybody else is heading towards the basement.
And to learn something new.
I've always been fascinated by clouds and storms. I love to watch them. I think they're exciting. And I thought this would be a way to really know what I'm looking at.
Brad says the classes will teach you the basics of what you're looking at and a whole lot more.
How to be safe when they're out in the weather, how to look at cloud features, some basic meteorology, updrafts, downdrafts, exactly what is a tornado by definition.
Hope everybody's okay.
And also shows you what can look dangerous, but might not be.
In a lot of ways, we're trying to teach people what isn't a tornado rather than what is a tornado.
For Brad, someone who deals with the weather at its worst, the role of a storm spotter is invaluable.
Spotters are very important. It gives us a ground truth of what's occurring at the ground. We know there may be hail, but not how big it is. We may know the storm's rotating, but not to what degree, whether there's a tornado, is it on the ground, how big is it?
It's information that keeps everyone safe.
The more reports we get of these, the more apt people are to react.
Because after all, weather in Iowa isn't always pleasant.
A nice day is great, but not every day is going to be nice.
And when the days turn mean, even you can help keep people safe.
These spotters report back damage. It helps you folks in television when you're on the air knowing exactly what's occurring. So it helps the entire meteorology community to get this real-time feedback.
Responding after disaster strikes, what Des Moines officials say they did wrong and what they could have done better in last summer's flash flooding. Severe weather is not new. Take a step back in time. The evolution of weather forecasting here at KCCI. But first, true or false? In a vehicle, rubber tires provide protection from lightning. The answer after the break. Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you, in a vehicle, do rubber tires provide protection from lightning? It's false. The metal shell of the vehicle carries the charge. Catastrophic flash floods slammed the metro in June of 2018. One person was killed and hundreds of homes and buildings were damaged. The areas with the most destruction were Ankeny, Des Moines, and Urbandale. Some homes even had 5 feet of water on the first floor. Water came crashing into this Holiday Inn in Urbandale. Also that night, flooding forced the evacuation of the Baker House Group home in Des Moines. Patients had to be relocated by boat. In March, the city of Des Moines officially received a report detailing lessons learned in the aftermath. It shows what could be done better next time, but also what went well.
I evacuated. It was up to my chest.
Jenny Gleiss's story is like many in the metro who narrowly escaped flash floodwaters on June 30th of last year. She turned that experience into action, speaking up about the city's response.
I think there was a few gaps between Polk County and the city.
So she was one of the residents advising the city as it put together a 51-page retrospective on its flood response. City council members officially received the report in March. It highlighted some areas that went well, like rescue efforts, but it also showed some areas needing improvement. A big focus was outdated infrastructure, which many blame for devastating impacts in neighborhoods that rarely flooded before. The report calls on Des Moines to study citywide stormwater issues and fix the city's infrastructure. Public Works Director Jonathan Gano says repairs could take decades to finish.
Pipes that were built in the 1930s are no longer adequate.
The report also showed communication issues. Residents were often mis- or uninformed and didn't know where to find information.
A lot of the missteps from the June 30th event was not understanding the full magnitude of the problem.
It would be better and more beneficial to make those decisions sooner, or at least be more transparent about when we will make a decision if we're delaying one.
Officials promised a city prepared to respond quicker when disaster strikes. Kleiss thinks they've turned a page.
I think the city had a hard lesson to learn, and I think they learned it.
A glass map, colored light bulbs to high-powered Doppler radar. A look back at the many ways we have brought you the weather here at KCCI. But first, true or false, a vehicle can float in 2 feet of water? The answer when we return. Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you if a vehicle could float in just 2 feet of water. It's true. It's just enough water to carry a vehicle away even if it's moving. Weather has been an important part of every newscast here at KCCI. A lot has changed over the years. Not only has the way we brought you the news changed, but so has the way we have forecasted the weather.
The city, 57 over in St. Louis, 45. Chicago, the Twin Cities up here, 38 degrees.
When Channel 8 first went on the air in 1955, anchorman Russ Van Dyke did the weather. He used this glass weather map of the United States. It was quite innovative at the time. In fact, there were only 2 or 3 of them in the country. But by 1972, news anchors started reporting just news, and dedicated weather reporters were hired. A promotions writer named Connie McBurney was chosen to take over.
Saturday, there's a system coming in. There's a low here, there's a low here, and there could very easily be 3 inches of snow behind here. I don't think it's for us.
Connie was a popular choice and quickly became a local celebrity. Soon viewers coined the phrase, "Connie said it would be like this." But that's not the only phrase Central Iowans associated with Channel 8 and the weather. A bright new weather forecaster was added to the Des Moines skyline. On the night of October 21st, 1960, the Weather Beacon was introduced to Central Iowa. The lights could be seen for miles across the Des Moines metro. A poem was created by promotions manager Joe Hudgens and general manager Bob Dillon to help residents remember the color code. Unfortunately, the energy crisis of 1973 shut it off, but 15 years later, it returned.
An old friend is back on the Des Moines skyline, the TV8 Weather Beacon.
Along with the new Weather Beacon, a new team of weather reporters joined Connie McBurney.
Weekdays at noon, John McLaughlin displays the knowledge and respect for weather only an experienced pilot can have. And joining TV8's weather team is Steve Carlin, a native Iowan who's grown up observing Iowa's weather.
In 1993, Mike Lozano joined the KCCI weather team as our first certified meteorologist. A year later, Super Doppler arrived at KCCI, the first full-power live Doppler in Iowa. Now we could bring live radar images to viewers. We have stayed at the forefront of weather science, being the initial test site of Viper radar in 1998, and becoming the first Central Iowa TV station to have dual-pole radar. While the way we bring you the weather has changed, our commitment to keeping you safe has not. Every day we work hard here at KCCI to keep you safe and learn new ways to better prepare you to weather the storm.